dialed in to Byron Velvick's Fish Tales. Real talk, real tactics, and the stories that make it all worthwhile. Here's Byron.
Welcome back. Another episode of Fish Tales. Man, I can't thank everybody enough. Subscribers, likes, comments. You guys are really awesome. And I'm reading the comments. I'm commenting back all the time. And I just want to thank everybody that's finding out, learning, telling their friends, sharing this podcast. Like I talked about last night on Bass After Dark, just a conversation with friends and pillars in the industry and icons in the industry. And it's not just going to be bass fishing. We're going to have some walleye guys coming on pretty soon. And we already had a saltwater guy coming on. Camus boats, they kind of want to see a well-rounded field of guys too. So my next guest is a Camus guy and a Mercury guy. And before I get to him, I just want to give out one shout out, because every single week we give away a $100 pro pack to somebody that likes, comments, or subscribes. We just throw all the names in a hat and we pick out somebody randomly from the likes, comments, and subscribers. And thank you everyone that subscribed, because that number keeps growing like crazy. And this week's winner of the Livingston $100 Pro Pack is Craig5927. So Craig5927, if you would just make a comment in this show, I'll get you the email and we'll get those baits of your choice. $100 worth of Livingston lures, baits of your choice. We just send you a code. Anybody that didn't win, guys, just comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll do this every week, probably through the end of February. And then I'll see if I get permission to keep doing it after that. But without further ado, I'm taking up a lot of this time, and I'm so excited that this guy's on the show. I know you guys have heard me talk about roommates. John and I, Skeet, John and I roomed together for a short while. Ike and Ellie Ish and I roomed together. But here's another one of my roommates, Boyd Duckett, right there. Kelly Jordan, Boyd Duckett, and Byron Velvick. We shared groceries together at a couple tournaments, buddy.
Heck yeah, man. That's been a minute. How you doing, Byron?
Boyd, I'm doing well. I thank you for being on the show. I'm doing great. And I'm just so happy you came on, because I had Gary Klein on. You're a partner in crime with Major League Fishing. Dude, it's just, we got to start at the beginning, us meeting each other. Do you remember? Do you remember how it all started? Because I've been thinking about it a lot since this got on the show.
Well, give me your rendition of the start, and then I'll see if I agree with you.
Okay. I was doing on the water commentary for ESPN Bass Center.
Yeah.
You qualified for the Bassmaster Classic, and you qualified through the Opens or something, or I feel me. You were this guy that showed up, and we became friends immediately. And I remember following you out to your spot and rooting for you and watching you catch them. I don't even remember what lake it was, dude, but we became friends when I was the on the water analyst and Bass Center host. But at the Classic, they had me on the water with Robbie Floyd. And I remember somehow we quickly connected. I would ask you where you're fishing, because you were crushing me in that tournament. And I'm like, Boyd, oh man, here, just put the boat there and set up here, and the fish are going to come off of this. And you were excited, and I was excited. It was, 20 years ago? I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say that would have been 2006 then, I guess.
20 years ago.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes.
20
years ago.
20 years ago. Yep. That's been a while. And
where was that at, Boyd? Was that Lake?
If it was the Classic, that was at Lay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And I remember that. And I was trying to remember if I had met you prior to that. I fished a long time. Well, Byron, and most of my fans and our fans, I guess, know I spent my whole life working. I'm kind of a dinosaur in the fishing business, and that I always did it. I've always got about 9 things going right at the same time. Yeah. But I always fished, and I had fished, Bassmaster Invitational. I had to fish Bassmaster Tour events. Never fished full time because I didn't have time. I had about 3 companies going, and I was doing the best I could in running. I love fishing. It was my passion. So it was about then that I want to say about 2003 or 4 that I'm getting old enough in life that I'm like, man, and I always wanted to fish full-time professionally. Okay. I mean, since I was 17, and I traveled and fished, it just wasn't the number one priority of all the things I had to do. So it was in that time frame that I had made it. It wasn't the only thing I did, but it was my number one thing. And that's a big shift for me. Whatever gets the 100% attention, then the rest get what's left. Fishing always got what was left. And at that time in my life, it got to 100%. So I was I was all about it, and that was a good time for us too, man. That was back when, ESPN was enthusiastic and pushing the sport, and man, having Bass Center. I hadn't heard that term till you just said it. That was big, man. That was big for our sport to take ESPN's flagship title of Sports Center and offer it in the Bass Center. You guys did an awesome job on that. I mean, that was big time media, man, the back in those days.
ESPN too. Da, 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 da. They've never had Hockey Center. They've never had
Yep.
Football Center or base. The only time, because they bought Bass. They didn't want it to get away from them like NASCAR, so they threw it all in. And I
Yep.
had just come off of The Bachelor. It was literally right when The Bachelor ended, 2005, 2006.
Yep.
That in 2006, man, we're going to do this thing called Bass Center. We want you to be one of the hosts, the analyst, the guy behind the thing sitting next to John Kernan. And then they had Loudmouth Bass that complemented it.
Yep.
Remember Loudmouth
Yep.
Bass and Bass Center.
Yep.
And so then I remember I went to the Classic, and that's when we really got tight because you were catching them pretty good. And I don't remember how you finished in that Classic, but it was awesome that I was like, you became my pick to win. And I was all about it because I go, hey, I just want Boyd Duckett. I just want to follow Boyd.
Yeah.
If Boyd's going out, we're going to have a camera boat. And if you guys are going to give me a choice, I'm going to go with that guy because he's awesome on camera. He's catching them and he's fun to talk to. He's having a time of his life out there. You were just having so much fun during the Classic. It was just so cool to see.
And it really was. Well, if it was on lay, then that would have been the 7 Classic. That would
Yeah.
have been February of 7 coming off of the 6th season, and I won that one. So that
There you go.
was one of, you look back on your career and you know this more than anybody, the whole season like comes down to a bite, right? And,
Right.
whether you make it, don't win, you win or you don't win or in and out. And it just seems like every day comes down to a couple of moments. And that particular Classic, it was fun because it was in Alabama. And I was living in South Alabama in Demopolis at the time, and I knew Lay Lake pretty well. So that's the one, but that was an awesome, awesome event. It was a whole lot of fun. The whole week was fun. Hey, anytime you win, it's a good week, right? So,
Can you believe? I mean, you were a successful businessman. I knew you. We were just talking about it as I was typing your email in here, and I on my phone it comes up Southern Tanking. It's
Yeah,
Southern Tank. It's like you had all those tanker trucks everywhere, and you were
Yep.
like this very successful businessman in a big way. But 17-year-old Boyd Duckett. Let's go back to the beginning, because could you imagine that you would ever love fishing and you could do what you've done now? If I see the sign in the back, Duckett Fishing and Major League Fishing and winning the Bassmaster Classic. It's like, Boyd, you were just a kid like all of us that love fishing, but you did the right thing. You went and made your money first, like they tell you to do.
Yeah.
Go get your money in the bank and then go fishing.
Yeah.
So you came into it fully loaded, ready to have a great time.
Yeah, I did, man. It was fortunate in the sense that I didn't have the economic challenges that a lot of the young anglers have. And I think I had done it a long time, so it was easy to appreciate. When you get real busy and I gave it my all for probably 10 years and won 5 tour level events, and including the Classic and a lot of other stuff, as well. But
Yeah.
but it's you can get so busy that it turns so fast, you kind of forget to enjoy it. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of the younger guys do that because they're go, go, go. You don't really know until later on, right? Us old
Right.
guys get to tell you, stop and smell the roses because they wilt. Okay. Right.
That's
Roses
right.
wilt.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you got to appreciate that, and I think I was old enough at the time that I really did have a good time. I had a good time with all of that portion of it. I mean, it's no secret coming into it. I was in a position. I flew to most of my events and all those things, and
Yeah. Kelly
Well,
got to ride the private jet. Everybody, I never got on the Boyd jet, the Boyd Express.
I
I
can't
never
believe
got to
you
get
did.
on the. I never got to ride on the. I mean, you were flying all over it. I just bad luck, man. I think a couple times you actually invited me, and I was like, I just want to go with Boyd to the tournament because I'd call you. I'd be stuck in a snowstorm driving to the tournament, talking about the house ring, and you're on your back porch drinking coffee.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's right.
dude, you're on the back porch of your house drinking coffee, and we're checking in tonight. He goes, yeah, the plane's fired up. The pilots are waiting on me. I'm going to finish this cup of coffee, go to the airport, and I'll see you there in just a couple hours. Man, I cussed you so much on that interstate.
Well,
glorified truck driver.
Yeah, I got you, man. But it was a lot of fun to be able to go out there, and enjoy it as well. But I also very much enjoyed the whole piece of it. One year, the reason I pointed that out is because I want to say about 2009, maybe, because my personality is kind of like that. I wanted to experience the whole thing. And I know I had a lot of great sponsors, and I had tons of, sponsor requirements and boat shows and outdoor shows and all those things. And I drove an entire season. That's what I was trying to get to. If you don't know that, okay.
I did not know this.
And I did this by choice. I did it by choice. And I drove to every single event. Back then we fished 15 events, and I worked too. Now when I, that was kind of at a high point in my career, and I had a lot of sponsor obligations, and, and I did, I worked all kind of shows, did all the seminars. And I drove weekend after weekend after week. I just went and lived the entire lifestyle and lived out of my truck. And that was one of my favorite years, years of my life. And if you don't know that, I didn't really say a whole lot about that, but I just wanted to do it. And I booked, I want to say I probably did 60 or 70 shows that year.
Wow.
I worked I just went and
you were all in. You
Dude,
were living it our way. You were living, and this is what I love about this podcast, because we've known each other forever, and I never knew ever, as much as I know you, we see each other all the time, we talk. I never knew you spent a whole year living it the way that you have to grind it out, the road warrior way, and going to the shows. And to your point, God, those are such fond memories. They really are.
Yep. Met so many people, and hey, listen, for an angler that's willing to work really hard and put that kind of work in, there's good money in that as well. I would say half of those shows or more were probably paid appearances from the show promoters, at Greensboro and Atlanta and Richmond. I'm trying to remember the Nashville show. Of course, Alabama stuff. Some of that stuff you have to go to on behalf of your sponsors, but I did a lot of, $5,000 a day appearance deals. I booked.
Well, wait. You got that because you were a Bassmaster Classic champion, buddy. You didn't get $5,000 a day being Byron Velvick, so I'm going to be on The Bachelor someday. But until then, I'm just another one of the guys fishing. I had no daily rate worth of crap until after ABC picked me. It didn't matter how many classics I qualified for, how many boats I won out west, how much 2 U.S. Opens does not get you $5,000 a day.
I got you.
But you had that, you put that title away early in your career. You won the big show early on, when you were before you started, what we experienced, me and Kelly rooming together. By then, Bassmaster Classic champion had it in your back pocket, man.
Yep, made all the difference in the world. But those were really fun times, man. And then, obviously the fishing, and we all worked hard and competed and did the best we could. But I also always I wanted to, because professional bass fishing, for me, it was important to try to go compete with the best guys in the world and be part of that. And you certainly understand that feeling. But I also wanted to enjoy that full lifestyle. So that's why maybe a little different.
That's awesome.
I wasn't interested in staying in motels. It was like me and you and Kelly, and we cooking in the kitchen and having us a bottle of wine and living life on and off the water that was a big part of it. And those are the
that
things
was so it. Yes. That was, the hotels was not the deal. When it was Ish and me and Ike and Ellie and John Cruz, that was the house thing. And me and Murray Skeet and I and you and Kelly, we all learned real quick. VRBO became our best friend real fast. Airbnb, VRBO. It's like, thank goodness there's that came during our career, where suddenly you could go online and start reading about houses for rent on the lakes. Oh my gosh. Thank you very much. So that we could all cook together and have great dinners. dinners and be like we're home in these beautiful houses. I mean, I remember the houses we had. We look out and watch all the guys running around, and we're deciding if we want to go out that day. It's blowing, it's nasty. We're drinking coffee. You and I and Kelly, you're going, nah, do you want to go out? Nah, you know what? I'll go out later. Let's wait till that wind stops blowing. And look in it. And sometimes we had our own launch ramp.
Yeah.
So remember, like some of the houses, we had our 3 boats there, and it's like, we don't want to launch it till after that wind stops blowing and the ice gets off our rod tips and we can open the deck of our boat. But I have such great memories. I gotta tell the audience, the coolest thing was you and I and a bunch of other guys were with carrot sticks. Do you remember the carrot sticks days? And the joke was that, and this is what, and boy, I'll never forget this. You said, man, I'm having a tough time promoting a product where every show I go to, some kid walks up and says, I broke my carrot stick. You remember? It was one of those things where they were fragile. And it was a difficult situation. And I'll never forget, Boyd, that you walked up to me at a show and you said, man, I'm getting tired of people coming up and saying, I bought these rods because you guys are telling me to buy them and they keep breaking. You remember that? It was they were breaking too much. And I remember you took all of us and said, I'm going to start my own rod company, Boyd Duckett Fishing.
Yeah,
Instead of orange rods, we're going to do white. We're going to do white ice. We're going to do white rods.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember this clear as day. And what was great about you, Boyd, was you're like, everybody has a specialty. So I want Rojas to do a frog rod. I want Velvick to do a swim bait rod. We did an Alabama rig rod too. You had every guy's strength. Scroggins, a punching rod. Yeah. So if you remember, you took each of us, and as friends, you knew our strengths. And you said, I'm going to have each of you signature, which was great for us because we get royalties on a signature rod that you let us promote and specialize. I'm not the guy to talk about drop shotting. I'm not a drop shot rod guy, but you talk about Alabama rigs and swim baits all day long. I know what rod we need. And that's what was great about what Duckett Fishing did, was you built a great product. And at the same time, you leaned on the pros, your friends, to fill that product line.
Absolutely. We our slogan at Duckett Fishing has always been pro driven, and that's not a marketing slogan. That we did that because it was obvious, because that's what we do. I used to laugh. I'd go to shows or even a box store retailer, and they would ask about development. I said, let me tell you how we do it. So we build rods that we think are really cool for us, and then we hope the world will buy them. We just do it differently.
That's it, buddy.
Build stuff for us.
Right.
And then if everybody else likes it, that's great. Then we'll sell them. So I'm not sure that's a good sales pitch, but that's exactly how it went, wasn't it?
But you know what I loved about that, Boyd, is that I'm with you guys. And if I'm going to punch, I'm going to pick up Strogan's rod. I'm going to throw a frog, I'm going to pick up Rojas's rod.
Yeah.
Pete Pons and everybody, Jason Williamson, and man, the list goes on. And I knew what they were good at. So what better rod to throw than what I know? That guy picked it out, man. That's his action rod. So it took all the guesswork out. I didn't have to be with a company and go, well, maybe this would work as my crankbait rod, and maybe this will work as my rattle trap lipless crankbait rod. It's like, oh no, if he says that's the rod, that's what I'm going to use. I think that pro driven was perfect for what it did.
We still do the same thing today, man. Of course, we've grown exponentially in baits. That's kind of our big growth market right now, but we do the same thing. It's pro-driven stuff. When, we just did a Jacob Wall, he's on our team now, and we wanted to get compete with a good glide bait, and he's a California guy also, and throws just a genius at it. So we haven't changed, man. We work for months and months and months, and if it never comes out, I'm okay with that too, because we just want to make it. We want to make the best glide bait we could possibly make, and then when we land on it, we're proud of it. And it works good. Hey, you mentioned Pete Pons. The world probably doesn't know this. You know why the fishing rods are white?
No, I don't know this.
Pons.
What?
That was Pete Pons' suggestion.
I thought you came up with that, Boyd. I thought you picked white because we left carrot sticks.
Well, we did leave carrot sticks, but in that process, Pete Pons was the one that said, hey, nobody's ever made a white fishing rod. Why don't we do that? And I thought on it. I'm like, I love it. I love it for all the cool reasons. But Pete Pons was the one that originally suggested to me that we do white fishing rods.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
got to tell the audience, I will never forget this, that we would be hanging out and we'd have a bunch of guys at the house and it'd be you and me and Kelly, everybody. And you were going crazy talking about, man, the sports got it all wrong. We're too busy focusing on the football and not the anglers. I mean, this was the beginning of Major League Fishing. Those conversations, I was lucky enough to be hanging out with you and Kelly and everybody. We're all just sitting there shooting it. And you're like, yeah, you know what? I think TV's got all wrong. We keep focusing on that fish. We keep focusing on that fish. Where's the drama among the players? Let's get some rivalries going on and stuff happening. And our anglers are what they should focus on, because you don't watch football and just watch the ball move up and down the field. You got the teams and the stories. And Boyd, I love that, because in those early conversations, I was lucky enough to be there with you. I was one of the first guys to fish it, one of the original 24, I think we had. You had brought us all in, but Major League Fishing was born on tour at these houses, sitting there listening to you and everybody else talk about how do we make television fishing better, right?
Yep. Oh, no doubt about it. That's exactly when all that happened. And of course, with my entrepreneurial spirit, I mean, here we are today, with Major League Fishing, but the whole idea is what it still is today. And that's to try to overcome. And it's not that what we had was bad. That's misunderstood. Okay. Or unappreciated. I mean, I loved growing up in the environment that we had and what we had, but it was clear we had a ceiling to the audience that wanted to watch us do what we had always done. And I felt like there'd be a more exciting way to shoot it and to offer it and to
Yeah.
produce it. So that, and then of course, real-time scoreboard. I mean, that was one of the big fundamental changes. If you remember real-time scoring, we're used to it now, right? But
Right.
it didn't exist. And so it used to be you'd go out there all day and you'd fish against yourself. And now we fish against each other.
Right.
Just like
Right.
every other team. A ball
That's a
team doesn't go out and do 4 quarters worth of plays. They're going to run them no matter what happens. These are my plays. I'm going to run this no matter what happens. They
Right.
run plays based on what the other team does. And so we do that now, with
Right.
real-time scoring and, Score Tracker Live. And we're real time out there. You know exactly where you are every minute of the day. And then even the every fish counts. I enjoy the 5 fish limit as well, but I really think, I mean, it's well been proven, that our audiences, I mean, we've hit audiences never experienced in fishing before, with the, catch, weigh, and release and every fish counts, on the leaderboard, just because it keeps it exciting, man. Hey, you remember the cups?
Yeah.
One of my most disappointing finishes. Okay. One of my most disappointing finishes. We're at Ray Roberts in Texas. And I'm grinding, how, because every fish counts, man. You got to catch them and catch them and catch them. And it gets to the end of the day. And I guess we cut, I was trying to remember how we cut back in the early days, 8 advanced. Is that right? From the deal?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
like 8th or 9th place, 8th or 9th place. And the guy that keeps knocking me out is Byron Velvick. I'm in 8th, and then I fall back to 9th, and then I get bumped out, and it's the 3rd period, and I'm catching them, and I finally catch one more fish, and I catch you, and I thought I had won, but I
Right.
tied you.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that. I tied
Oh,
you, and I'm sitting there in the end, and I'm like, am I in? Did I get in? Am I in? And they're like, well, I don't know. You're tied, and then they had to work, and I'm putting tackle away, and I don't know whether to be happy or sad. You won the tiebreaker.
right.
Yeah.
Because I had more fish, I think. Maybe
I
because I
think
had
it was
more fish.
total number of fish was the first tiebreaker. And you had a higher total number of fish. And so I'm putting all my stuff on the wind. They're like, no, you're going to end up 9th. And then Byron Velvet knocked me out of the darn cut it, Ray Roberts.
Dude, it's a shameless plug. I got to tell you though, but that when you said Ray Roberts, the coolest thing happened. It was the early days of Livingston. You know, they were sponsoring me and they did my TV show and they
Yeah.
made this little pro ripper, this little lipless bait, and it makes all that little sound. And dude, I was catching them and that head to head with you. And I'd flooded that thing along and I'd let it pause and just sit there and start to sink down. And it's making that noise and they grab it. They were not big bass, but they were just enough, you know? I'm catching these keepers and I'm like, there's another keeper. There's another keeper. And every time I'd reel it straight in, I would get bit. I'm like, man, the power's in the pause. That's kind of our byline now. And that's what I learned about the power in the pause because I'm reeling that bait and then I stop it and it starts to sink down. And all of a sudden they grab it and I go, I got him. I wait and they go, oh, you just took over Boyd Duckett. You just took over Boyd Duckett. No, Boyd's got you. No, you got Boyd. And I'm like, God, I love Boyd, but I hate him right now. Go away, Boyd.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well,
I forgot all about that. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I remember the bite. I remember Ray Roberts. I clearly remember catching the fish, but I forgot we went to the tiebreaker and I beat you by the most number of little fish.
You beat me in the tiebreaker and I had to go home. I had to go home and left it with you.
And then my Duckett sponsorship was over. The next day I got a letter and said, Byron Velvick, we don't, just joking, everybody. That didn't happen, but you're done. Your white ice series just ended, buddy.
Yeah,
You beat your,
Byron's
you
out.
beat your, you beat your boss. Never beat your boss.
That was so funny.
Oh, I loved it. You know, it was the hardest thing. I had to retire. It was a forced retirement to be a dad and be a full-time parent. And I remember coming to you in Florida. And I remember I was pretty emotional and I said, dude, I got to quit, you know, and you were one of the conversations. I had to call Michelle at Mercury. I had to call Earl at the time, you know, with Triton back then, or, you know, and I had to call Earl and had to call everybody and all my Garmin and everybody and you and had to say, man, I got to walk away from Major League Fishing. I got to walk away from the Elite Tour. I got to go home and I got to raise my daughter. And that was, I remember clearly being with you in Florida, knowing it was the end of my career, professional tournament fishing. And I remember how emotional I was at that event. I think I withdrew during the event, you know, so because it wasn't fair because I knew I couldn't go on any further. And that was, you know, I know you guys said I have an exemption or whatever, personal exemption, but I knew I wasn't coming back because here I am, you know, 10 years later, still that girl's in school right now. I'm here with you. Well, like we talked about doing this at 4:00 and I'm like, I got to pick up my kid from school at 4, Boyd.
Yeah.
Can we do it at 2?
Yeah. No,
But dude, you've given me such a great life in fishing. I mean, it was great. Our friendship, you know, originally just starting as me on the water, following you in your 2007, you know, Bassmaster Classic win, turned into Duckett Fishing and Kelly Jordan and Major League Fishing. And man, you've had a storied career. You must. Are you going to keep doing this? What's the future for Boyd Duckett?
I don't know, man. I'll just have to tell you when I'm tired.
You ain't tired yet.
No, I got nothing else to do, man. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I've worked in a lot of things. I do mostly fishing between, you know, the marine dealership, obviously Duckett Fishing and Major League Fishing. You know, that's the majority of my time really is Major League Fishing today. You know, being able to work in the fishing space. I still fish some tournaments. By the way, I'm leaving tomorrow, go to Florida. So I'm going to fish the 6 pro circuit events that we have. And
Nice.
so I still get to get out there some, and not like I used to, but I'm so looking forward to going and taking a week and getting to compete and put my head back in fishing because you know how much you
Oh,
miss that, no doubt, and
oh,
I do as well. So I am fishing 6 of those this year just to be part of it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to be in this space. You know, I was talking about, and through the years, and you have too, with all the success that you had in the fishing business, you know, when you get to these dinners and you go to the Hall of Fames and you see all the guys again and the different things. When I remember a couple of years ago, I was inducted into Legends of the Outdoors Hall of Fame, and I was trying to decide what to talk about, and people ask you questions, and you know, if they do an interview later in your career, they want to talk about what you won and all that stuff. And somebody asked me, they said, you know, what are some of the greatest, you know, memories that you have? What are your memories? What are your memories from all that you've accomplished in fishing? Okay.
hmm
And and I guess they want, and they expect a response about, you know, Major League Fishing is now the #1 tournament organization in the world, or I won this, you know, this event and that event, or this much money. those are not the things we think about. When me and you and Kelly sit down, we don't talk about our wins. We talk about when the wind blew. Okay, at a
Right.
particular event, and we were stuck in a reed patch waiting on the wind to quit. Okay,
Yep.
or
Yep.
and when people ask me about Major League Fishing, I think about the experience of we had our very first one on Amistad. We stayed at
Mhm.
your place.
Yep.
We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We all stumbled around out there and tried to figure out how to go shoot this thing and how to make this equipment work. We stayed up in the restaurant and bar that every night, and we talked about, these dreams coming true. Those are the things that you think about. And
Right.
those are the things that we talk about. So when you ask me what my greatest memories from my fishing career are, it's going to be a while before I tell you about a win. And that's not to take anything away from that, but
Right. Right.
that is not what it's about. The
Right.
at the When you get towards the end of your career, you start to appreciate the people that you were blessed enough to meet and be associated with. Okay, those special people. You
Right.
think about the experiences that you had in your life that you never would have otherwise. Okay,
Amen. Yep.
and those are the memories. If I'm sitting around, if I'm working on tackle and I spot something and it reminds me back to an event, I think about, you know, the first Bassmaster Classic on that I fished at New Orleans Delta, and I didn't know the Delta. I hadn't fished tournaments down there. That first classic was the first one that I'd ever been to the Delta. So
Okay.
I hook up with a guy I hook up with a guy that a friend of mine hooks me up with, this Cajun from Louisiana, and he had a place out on the water, out in the Delta. I mean, 50 years ago, they grew up out there, right? They lived their whole lives out there on those stick houses.
Yes.
And he grew
Yes.
up on land, but his parents grew up out there. But this guy was Cajun start to finish. And I just wanted to know how to get around, how to run. It wasn't really as much about fishing as surviving the Delta, right? Being
Yes.
able to survive the Delta. Oh, and I can't, I'm going to tell you this whole story. It's too long,
I
but
want to hear it all. I do. I want to hear it. We got nothing but time unless you got to go, unless you got to pack.
no, I'm good for now. So this guy, uh, Thibodeau was this guy's last name. So, and he'd be like, "Hello, how you doing?" I
Water
don't
boy.
know.
He was like Water Boy. Adam
He's like,
Sandler's Water Boy.
he's
Like
like,
you're like, what?
yeah.
What?
I talked to him on the phone, and to be honest with you, I mean, I didn't understand 75% of what he said, but he invites
Yes.
me to come stay with him, and I'm kind of uncomfortable with that, because I know, I just kind of wanted to meet him and be, he was going to show me around the Delta. So he said, no, we'll stay at my place. We go out there. So I meet him at this boat round. I never met this man. He comes out, big husky Cajun looking guy. He's missing one finger on this hand and two fingers on that hand. Okay. So I know he's not a careful Cajun. so, and we're going to
A
stay.
careful Cajun.
And he's got a Walmart bag full of spices and a 10-pound bag of rice. And he throws that in my boat, and we go park my boat. It's funny at the boat ramp because it's this boat ramp way off in the middle of nowhere, somewhere on the Delta, and it's really shady looking in the area. I'm scared to death. I got $100,000 rig, and that I'm going
Right.
to park. And I had backed up, making the circle was so small, I had to kind of get in the guy's yard that was beside to get lined up for the boat ramp. That guy's bitching at me while I'm turning around. He's doing, "Oh, get off my land," whatever. I'm thinking they're going to rob me blind, while I'm out here, and we're going to spend the night out there. Okay. And so then I get him backed in, and I said, where should I park my boat and truck? He goes, we'll put them in there, and I'm like, where? And he goes, but, pull it up in that guy's yard, pull it up in that guy's yard. And I'm thinking, well, that's the same guy that was going to kill me for driving in his grass or whatever. And I said, no, I don't know that guy. So then that guy comes out on the porch. Hell, he's hollering and cussing, Cajun cussing him, and this guy and my guy in the boat's Cajun cussing him, and they got for a little while, and then I don't know what's about to happen, and then he's like, oh, come on, boy, pull out, and he pulled. They're friends, but that's how they are.
That's how bark, 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 bark. Water boy barking.
Yeah, water boy barking. So we go out, and we fish all day, and we show up at this cabin. Anyway, make a long story short, and I thought, and you know me, Byron, I like to eat, right? You've stayed with me plenty.
Your groceries. Gotta have my groceries. This is it. You coined the frame. When it says, hey, we gotta get our groceries, gotta go in for some groceries. That's Boyd Duckett. I mean, that if I heard it anywhere else, I'm like, that's a Boyd Duckett-ism, just so you know.
Yeah, gotta have my groceries. So I'm thinking I'm gonna starve to death. I mean, I don't have anything. I don't have anything to eat. I end up staying a week with this guy, and we caught or killed everything we ate all week. It's one of the best weeks of my entire life. I learned an entire lifestyle of original Cajun family lifestyle on Louisiana Delta. And we hunted alligators, we ate alligator, we had flounder, we had speckled trout, we had redfish. They have these little islands, out there on the Delta. It's bodies of soil, but they move around, they float.
Okay.
I mean, they're not necessarily attached to the bottom. And there's these little tiny deer. I don't know what they're called, but some kind of little tiny spotted deer that live on them. And he would shoot them. They ate them, but he had made sausage. When first night I get to this cabin out in the swamp, these sausages are hanging all on the back porch. I mean, just
oh my gosh.
I'm like, I'm gonna die out here.
I'm gonna die of ptomaine food poisoning here.
I'm telling you, best week of eating I think I've ever had on tour.
And that's why he brought the bag of rice and the spice. And you said he gets in the boat and you didn't know what the hell the bag, because I'm like, bag of rice and spice. That's what you were gonna, with all your protein, protein.
And hey, listen, we'd be riding down when I got there, I was like, Bassmaster champion, kind of big guy. He's going to show around. I'm going to tell you, by the end of the third day, I'm a deckhand. Okay, on my boat, I'm just a deckhand. He'd ride down through there, and then when we'd want me to turn, he'd just reach over and he'd just, hell, boy, and he'd slap me on the chest, and I'd turn left or whatever, and then he'd run, and so we're coming back in. We're coming back in one day, and there's this shrimp boat, or two shrimp boats. And he's like, pull over a shrimp boat. So I kind of ease up on the shrimp boat. I don't know what we're doing. And they're all looking at me, like I'm crazy because I'm getting too close or whatever. And he's like, and he's slapping me on the chest. Hell, by the end of the day, I had a blue spot on my chest. He slapped me so many times to get me to turn. And and then he pulls up and they get to cussing each other and screaming and hollering. And I don't know if we're going to get shot. And the next thing I know, there's a 5-gallon bucket of shrimp coming over. And he's like, get him shrimp, boy, put him in live oil. All of it, all week, I was just a deckhand.
What an experience. Oh my gosh. So awesome. That is, what an amazing, and I gotta paint a picture. You guys gotta understand, there was no GPS back then. There was no mapping. We had satellite images. I fished that tournament too. Yep. And we had these massive satellite rolls, and you had to go spend about $200 or $300 buying these satellite pictures, and they were all color, but you couldn't make sense of where you were at. Like, you'd be out there and you're like, now, wait a minute, am I in this canal or this canal? There's a wagon wheel over here. I need to get to that wagon wheel because at least then I know. But then if you went off the wrong canal, nothing was showing you where you were at. You could totally miss the next canal, and you're going for 20 miles. And then you look at the satellite map, you're like, oh, now I'm totally lost. I'm just totally lost.
That's it. Man, that Delta is big, massive, and hard to get around. And then the other thing is, which a lot of our guys experience, a lot of those canals run out of water. I mean, they're a foot deep if you don't catch the tide right. And you're blowing mud, and if you sit down, you're going to sit there 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go through all that. So
No, I had an experience and it scared me to death. I got to tell the Storieds because it's in the exact same fishery. I had a Cajun guy just like you did. He gets in my boat again, like, well, you know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't understand what you're saying. Really, I don't. But Stan Garzini was doing well in the tournament, good old Stan Garzini back in the day. And he told me what to go look for, which was these dead end canals way down south. And they had, even in the satellite picture, you could see there was clear water in the back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I run down there and I'm following all my satellite pictures and I'm going and I come up to this canal and there's this gate. You know, they had the gates on the canal and the gate was open and it said clearly no trespassing. And it also had X's and skeletons and stuff, but it was open.
Yeah.
And I see the gate's open. It's a wrought iron gate and the canal's like this. So here's the gate. It's open. I look down there and at the end of the canal, there's an end to it, which is what Stan told me to fish. There's a little house with a boat dock halfway down the canal, you know, a little house with a little aluminum boat. And Boyd, I'm like, you know what? Let's just, you know, you can't say no trespassing. That's not legal. We can go. So we buzz down there and I'm buzzing down and I'm coming up to the house and I see the little aluminum boat and I shut it down. And I don't want to wake out that little aluminum boat that's there and that house on sticks, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
The house on sticks. And I'm idling by and goes, ruff, 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 ruff. And the guy comes out of the house and he is barking at me. And he's like, ruff, 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 ruff. And I go, hey. And he goes, no. And I'm like, and the guy next to me goes, oh boy, this is his canal. He owns this canal. And I go, man, we're just going to go to the back. And when he tells us to kick us out, we'll try to catch some until he comes and gets us. And the guy goes, I don't think this is a good idea. You know, but he's saying that in his water boy kind of way.
Yeah.
And so Boyd, I get past the house and I light it up. I go to the back of the canal. I shut it down. By God, boom, boom. I'm like, this is awesome. Boom. And the guy goes, hey man, he's getting in his boat. And I'm like, well, catch some and let's just stay. He goes, when he comes here, we'll try to negotiate staying. And I catch another one. He goes, hey, he's untying his boat. And he's like, okay. And I'm catching him. He goes, hey, he's going the other direction. And all of a sudden I go, what? And he goes, he might be locking us in.
Oh God.
I go, excuse me? And he goes, boy, you don't understand where you're at. You don't understand where you're at. He goes, he might be going to lock us in. He goes, if he locks us in, we're going to be alligator bait. And I mean, I was like, what? And he goes, he's headed towards the gate. Boyd, I'm like, he might, I would have thought I could just fish and he was leaving. And the local guy goes, if he locks us in, we're done for. Like, we'll never be seen again. Never seen again. And I turn around and I get on it and I'm going and this guy is headed for the gate, you know, and I'm coming up alongside him. He starts trying to block me. He's trying to block me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm trying to get alongside him and I'm shutting down. He's trying to block me. I go, hang on, man. And I get it. And I go by him and he's trying, his little aluminum boat and I are doing this. And I get out and the Cajun dude goes, you don't understand how close you were about getting killed right about there. You'd be alligator bait. They're going to cut you up little pieces. We both be dead. I go,
Oh God.
You remember Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
I was going to be the gimp.
Yeah.
You know, we got a couple of live ones. You know, Thibodeau, your guy was Thibodeau. Hey, Thibodeau, we got a couple trapped in here. Come get them. We got a deliverance and everything else. But that was such a wild place, dude. You lived an amazing life down there.
Hey man, when you travel this country and you see all the stuff we've seen, it's just, there are some experiences that it seems impossible it can happen.
Yeah, that's what life's all about. That, you know, you're touching on what I miss the most about fishing. And I had to go cold turkey when I quit because I missed you guys, man. I missed our camaraderie. I missed our friendship. I missed all the stories we're telling, like right here. I mean, you know, again, winning and losing and, you know, finishes and qualifying for classics, that was easy to walk away from. You know, it's like, I've done all that, but I miss you guys. I miss the tournaments and what we shared in the life experience, man. Like, you know, it's just that the road time, the time on the water and all that. So, man, I've took up a lot of your time. I know I told you this, but we got to do it. It's the one that got away. It's a segment we do. I kind of prefaced it. I told you it was coming. I know the Cajun story ain't the one that got away because that's a gem. That just happened. But like I said before, everybody has this cool story. It can be a fish because Gary's was the one fish that cost him the Bassmaster Classic, which was on top of the mat. So if you didn't see Gary Klein's, it was sitting on top of the mat wiggling and he couldn't get to it and it worked its way through the mat, went back down. That's a Bassmaster Classic sitting on top of the mat flipping around. So that's a great story if you haven't seen Gary Klein's, the one that got away. But Boyd Duckett.
The memory still haunts him. He lost by 2 ounces.
Boyd Duckett, What's your one that got away?
I have one similar to Klein's. So when I won the Classic in 7, and then 2 years later in 9, I think Skeet win 9. I think that was the right year. Couple years, 9 or 10. Anyway, whichever one that was, it was on the Red River in Louisiana.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Red River Classic. That and Skeet won that tournament, but I led that tournament going into the final day, and I had a backwater area that had good ones. I mean, for the Red River, I mean, like everybody that got in there was a 4-pounder. And the final day was really tough for me. I had about 75 boats. Back in those days, we didn't have online, we didn't have Score Tracker Live, right? And so the world followed you, and that became one of the toughest things to manage was all those boats, especially if you're in one small, area or a shallow area like I was. Anyway, fishing for me was really hard the last day with all those boats in there. And about my third fish of the day, and this is just a backwater slough off the Red River, so the water just slowly goes up into the woods, and there's a bunch of stumps and all that kind of mess, and gets too shallow, and you can't get to the bank because the stumps just prohibit your boat, from getting in there. They're too close together. But I'm pitching those stumps, and I hook one, probably a 4-pounder, solid 4+, about my third fish. And he jumps, and there's a stob sticking out of the water, maybe this big, sticking up that far out of the water, just a stick sticking up, tied to the bottom, obviously. This fish jumps and comes back down, and the hook impales the top of the stick. I mean, there's photographs of this. My brother always followed me in all the classics. He's got pictures of all this, the whole process. And the bass is hanging by the jig. It's through his mouth, but the jig is in top of the stob.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
and he's hanging off of this stob, and I am freaking out. I mean, I need this 4-pounder so bad. I mean, you're talking about 2 classics. I mean,
Yeah.
now, and I can't get to it, and I take my crankbait retriever. I mean, eventually it stayed on there so long. I mean, the fish had just died there. I mean, it just wasn't even moving anymore.
There was no way to get to it. Your boat was
way to get your
prohibited.
boat to
There's
it.
so many stumps you can't reach. There's nothing you can do to get out there.
Could not get there, and I can't get out of the boat. And I undo it. I can get within about 4 feet with my crankbait retriever. I was trying to push it off. So it was, and then I called Trip Weldon, and I said, Trip, I've got a fish hung on a thing. I said, and I knew I could power over the stumps and get to it, but I could never get off without help.
Oh,
I called to ask if I got in to get this fish, if I got
Right.
stuck, could I
right.
hire help to drag my boat off if I had to? Because I knew I couldn't get out if I up on the
You
stump.
were literally gonna put it like up on the trailer. You were gonna put it up on the stumps and just freaking jack that boat.
I was
up
just
high.
gonna throw it
You're
up
gonna
on
air
the
it.
stump to get that fish. Yeah. So Trip and Chuck Harbin decide that's not legal or whatever. So I do everything, and I finally, I mean, I've had him on now like 20 minutes. I mean,
Oh,
and
this is
hey,
so
look,
sad.
I could pull on it, and it would come to me, but wouldn't come off, and you'd release it, and it'd go back up again. And I'd pull,
And the fish is dying. The fish is dying. Now it doesn't matter. It's a dead fish penalty. The fish is, you're tanning it. It's basically
I'm
tanning on
tanning
the
this
stump.
fish.
You're
So
tanning him on a stump.
So I finally pull and pull and pull. Anyway, I break him off, and I leave him there, and he's just hanging there. So I continue fishing. Well, that tournament, I ended up on the final day, I had 4 that weighed 16.5. Skeet beat me by 2 pounds, and I left a 4-pounder hanging on the stump.
Oh, wow. Another great one that got away. But you left it. You had it.
I mean, I had it, but I couldn't get it. I mean, I had no way to legally get it. And there it lays.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I wonder if
there.
now there's like an old carcass.
Yeah, it's
there's
an
a
old
jig
carcass.
and an old carcass. I mean, like, those cool skeleton of fish. That's
Yeah.
all artwork, but there's a skeleton of a fish with a jig stuck on it.
That's
If
what
you
it
got
is.
a picture of it, I'm going to get it for the viewers that are watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
I know podcast, you know what I podcast, 80% of the people listen to this, but I like to put a bunch of pictures in. And this is one of those times where I hope you're watching this on YouTube, because if you got that picture, I gotta share that with this audience. I love this because I never even heard that story.
Yep.
Like, I never heard that story in my life, in the segment called One That Got Away. And I had no idea you hung a 4-pounder on a stump and there was just zero way to get to it. You had to leave it there hanging.
Had to leave it there hanging, man. And Skeet would have hated me for life.
Master Classic hanging on a stick. That's worse than Gary's, because Gary's worked its way back through the mat and went down. It's funny, you and Gary, we talked about this, how hard it is to win a Bassmaster Classic. And you talk about, and Gary brought this up, 30 qualifications, 35 qualifications, Roland Martin, Bill Dance, Gary Klein. It's like, things have to go right, really right, for you to happen to win it. And when you put 2 or 3 guys and you can add up 100 Bassmaster Classics between those 3 guys, and none of them won a Bassmaster Classic, that's amazing, isn't it?
It really is, man.
We got a Bassmaster Classic coming up, and I think this is a great segment to tie into that, like a short, if you will. But the mop has to flop, as my grandpa used to say. This is my grandpa's reel. That's my grandpa's reel right there. But the mop has to flop the right way for you to win the Classic, and you know that.
I know that, man. Hey, look, I've led 3 of them on the final day and won one of the 3. So
you led 3 Classics on the final day?
I've led 3 Classics on the final day. Yep. Lay Lake, the Red River, and then also the Louisiana Delta one that Kevin won. I led that one on the final day.
Boyd, my gosh. And you see how hard it is, but hey, you know what? You won one. And that's, you got one, buddy. You know what?
Yeah, it could be a worse story. Yeah,
it could be a worse story. It's heartbreaking with these guys that you have on the show. It's like, and Denny Brower and Gary Klein both talk about how precarious it is just to win. Like, you're thankful for that one win because there's so many close calls.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Man, it has been great. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote? We talked about Major League Fishing and obviously Duckett fishing. Is there anything else that you want to pop out there? Because it's really cool that this show is worldwide now. I forget that I'm sitting in a room next to my daughter's room at my house, and then I get messages from South Africa and Australia and Japan and all these places. And so I appreciate the international fans that are loving this show. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to promote before we get out of here.
No, man, just, busy getting after it. Most of my focus, like I said, is around Major League Fishing. We have overcome some really big challenges in the tournament business with some of the problems we've had. Forward facing sonar, for instance. I'm really proud to say that we finally found a solution that works really well for us. That third of the day at the Bass Pro Tour has proven to be a home run. It's become a strategy now, and it took away something that was dividing anglers, and found a way to bring them together, which is what it takes. One thing I'll say at all levels, not just within our leagues, but all tournament trails nationwide, is you can't let these things divide you, because to have good tournaments, if we don't all come together, none of them will be big enough to have good payouts and matter. Okay.
Right.
So somehow, even though, the most recent issue being forward facing sonar, I think maybe we found a solution now with a third of the day. We've moved to that at all levels now at Major League Fishing, Toyota Series, BFLs. It's all, controlled to a third of the day. And and our participation's up. And I think that people are willing to accept that it's an awesome and very effective technique. Not something that should be taken away, but certainly incorporated into tournament fishing. And that's something that we've done. But as these new technologies come out, you can't run from it and you can't divide over it. Okay. That's the big deal.
Yes.
We have to we got to find a way to all fish together, or none of us will be successful, right? We won't make any money. Fishing 35 boat tournaments, you win $340 Saturday.
Yeah. Right.
It's no good. So we have to do the things to find a way to make it fair for all of us and all of our interests and all of our techniques to come together. And so I'm kind of proud of that one. That's our big one. And then the last thing I'll leave you with that I really believe is coming, that we have to learn how to overcome, is the catch, weigh, and release thing. we're we're launching Score Tracker Live to the world in 2026. So any tournament trail will be able to catch, weigh, release with the Bubba scale that ties into our Score Tracker Live. So everybody will be able to have a real-time leaderboard, and that's a cool feature. We did it for the cool feature, but what it's going to end up being is it's going to provide anglers the opportunity to fish tournaments when their states otherwise aren't going to let them, because
Because of the catch kill ratio and the creel limits and all that stuff, and the slot limits and everything else.
yep, we're starting to learn a lot about post weigh-in mortality, and the states are, and it's just, getting tournament permits. I mean, it's getting close to the point that you're not going to be able to get them a lot of places. And so we all have to find a way to embrace catch, weigh, release, overcome it, get used to, figuring out how to govern this, right? Because if you're fishing a team tournament, anywhere in America, and the team you're competing against is catching, weighing, and releasing their own fish, we got to figure out how to overcome that, because if not, you're not going to have tournaments.
Right.
So we
Right.
got to think about how to govern that. And there's a lot of technology that'll help us with that. Score Tracker Live, we have a camera system that we're trying to figure out how to incorporate. There's tons of POV stuff available now, but the message is, as these challenges come on, to divide over it or stay home over it doesn't help tournament fishing, right?
No.
We have
No.
to learn whatever the right solution is. I'm not saying I know all the right solutions, but whatever the right solution is to let's stay out there and let's participate. Let's find a way to come together and create these solutions so that we can continue to have good permits, and even guys that fish on weekends on Saturdays, man, still a big deal. You want to fish for $5,000 and not 660.
Right, right. And I don't envy you one bit, Boyd, because I've known you for 30 years and you've always cared about the sport and you cared about what's best for the fit. We go way, way, way back. And about the time I was retiring, you got to this point in your career where you became a target. Like you became a target. You were being villainized. And I'm like, not my buddy Boyd. Like it was crazy, right? I'm like, that guy is not a bad dude. And I'm like, and it was this villainization because it was the separation of everything. Like you're one camp and you're another camp and then this and that. And there's all this battling going on. I'm like, I promise you, man, that guy is doing what's right for the sport. And he's got his mind on the sport and good things to do with the sport and grow the sport and save the fish and make it better for a weekend warrior, just like you said, anybody else, or a kayak tournament. And as you see these things happening, you're still trying to, with the business mind that you have as a successful businessman, you're trying to hedge it so that we can still continue to do what we want. And I was shocked, and this was right at the end of my career of fishing when everything became very separated. And it's like you becoming a figurehead for Major League Fishing and watching your organization grow and, FLW and Operation Bass and all that become part of your thing. I was like, this is crazy because now there's all this chatter about Boyd this and Boyd that. I'm like, dude, he's an awesome guy who wants the best for the sport. I hope you're right. I hope, Boyd, people realize if we all come together, we have a better situation for every angler that likes tournament fishing. If it's a one-day tournament or a national massive tour.
Yep, I can I can promise you, this, Byron. My motivation to have done what I've done so far, and my drive to try to find a way to make things better in the future, it ain't for me.
No,
It's
or
just
money. It's not for you and it's not for money. You don't
certainly
need the
not.
money. And
Certainly not for money.
you're getting shot in the back. I'm like, this guy doesn't need to be here. They're shooting holes in a guy and he could just take his, you know what? I'm going to roll it up and go on from the sunset and enjoy my vacations in Bora Bora because I don't need this crap. You did it for the passion of the sport, right?
Yeah, I love tournament fishing, and I know how much all the guys, I have thousands of friends that tournament fish, and I have, I understand, me and you understand the passion of how much fun, no matter what level you do it at. It's a passion sport for guys. So that's the motivation, is to find a way to make it sustainable and to make it better and to make it work, man. That's what I'll do, work at every day, and I enjoy it.
Yep. Well, if I can leave one thing with all the young anglers that are watching this, listen to Boyd and I. Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
Enjoy the roommates you have. Enjoy everything that's happening when you're on the road and you're broke. I can see I-10 right here. I've talked about this a lot. I'm in Boerne, Texas. If you would have told me when I lived out west, you know, in Nevada, California, hanging out with Murray and all the guys in Arizona, like you, we drove up and down that freeway right there, going back and forth across the country. If you would have told me back then when I was hungry in the Astrovan, towing the boat around the country in the old Astrovan, that someday you're going to live right off this freeway in middle of Texas, I go, you lost your damn mind. Like, there's no way. But those were the best of times in those vans and driving, and your experience on the Delta. Dude, guys, if you're a young angler, it's not about winning or losing. It's not about qualifying the classic. Enjoy the process and the journey, because this journey was amazing. And I, you know, you and I, look at what we remember the most. Look what we love the most.
Yep. One of my favorite quotes in life is, "The journey is the reward."
Yes.
There's nothing truer.
Yep.
It's not about building companies. It's not about winning titles, because at the end of all of it, all you remember is the journey, not the reward. So,
Yep. You know, there's a song out there. These are the best days of our lives, and you don't realize it until you get older and wiser that these hungry, fishing, cold campgrounds, breaking down, changing tires, these are the best days of our lives. It really was.
Yeah.
Man, dude, this is what Fish Tales is all about. I love the fact that you gave us a little bit of time. I hope you do well in your tournament tomorrow. Boyd, thank you, man. You've made for an amazing, great show, and our friendship. Now I don't just see you at the Classic and say hi. I get to sit there and talk more about the stories we talked about here, because this is what it's all about, man. Thank you. We both stayed off our phones for over an hour.
Yeah.
We ignored these for over an hour to do this.
Yeah,
and right. I got to thank you, man. For those of you not watching, I held my cell phone up. For all of you that are just listening, I just held my cell phone up. But Boyd, I appreciate you, man. And thank you for being a wonderful guest on Fish Tales, buddy.
Man, I sure enjoyed it, Byron. And don't be a stranger, man. Let's keep up, because I sure appreciate the relationship and think about the old times a lot, buddy.
I miss you, man. I miss you. I miss everything we used to share. And good luck in your tournament tomorrow. I hope you guys have good luck on your travels to that big tournament tomorrow. Now I'm going to be following you just to see how you do. So thank you, everybody. That's Boyd Duckett with Fish Tales. And all right, Boyd, say goodbye. We're both saying goodbye. We're waving if you're watching YouTube. But Fish Tales is out. We're done.
Fish Tales has been brought to you by Livingston Lures. Learn more at livingstonlures.com. Fish Tales is also supported by these fine sponsors: Trika Fishing, Mercury Outboards, and Canis Boats.